Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. For us to create the smallest number, we need to pick the smallest digits at the start of the number. So the smallest digit is 3, then the next smallest digit is 4, next smallest digit is 5, then the next smallest digit is 8. But it wants it to be an odd number, and this is an even number. So we have to move that 8 forward one and have that 5 at the end. So the smallest odd number is 3,485. Here we're given two angles on a straight line, and we know that all angles add up to 180 on a straight line. So to find out what A is, we're going to do 180 take away 95. 180 take away 95 is going to be 85 degrees. So angle A is 85 degrees, and the reason is that angles on a straight line add to 180 degrees. And try and get used to writing down the reason as well, because there are quite a lot of marks for the reasons. Multiples are times tables, so the multiples of 2 are the times table of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc, etc. So the only number in this list that is in the 2 times table is the 6. And to work this out, we just need to type in 0.3 on the calculator and then press a button that mostly on most calculators looks like this, and it will just square it for us. If you can't find that button, all you need to do is do 0.3 times 0.3, and that will give you the same answer of 0.09. This coordinate is telling us to go 2 to the left from the center. We go right when it's positive, we go left when it's negative, so it's 2 to the right. And then it's telling us to go 1 up. It's up because it's positive. So we need to go 1 up, and we get to the coordinate of B. So the coordinate we get to is B. And so we just look at the -2 on the x-axis and the 1 on the y-axis, and that is where point B is. If you imagine these numbers written out as a list, there would be 5 lots of zeros, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There'd be 9 lots of 1, so 1, 1, etc, etc. Okay, so when we're looking to see the total number of goals scored in the season, we could write them out as a list and then add them up, but a quicker way of doing that is just multiplying the amount of goals by the frequency. So we've got 5 lots of 0 goals, which will just be 0, 9 lots of 1 goal, so that's just 9, 4 lots of 2 goals, so that's 8, 6 lots of 3 goals, that's 18, and then 6 lots of 4 goals, that's 24. So all we need to do now is add up the 0, 9, 8, 18 and 24, which brings us to 59. So there were 59 goals scored. So we're going to start off by writing the sequence out, and what you might notice straight away is that each of the terms is increased by 2, and so we're asked to find the next 2 terms. So we're just going to keep this pattern going, so increase it by 2, that would be 20. Increase by 2 again, and that will be 22. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table, so it would be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time, and all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. The lowest point on this graph is here, and that's at point 6, and the highest point is here at point 20. And we're looking for percentage change or percentage increase, and the formula is change over original times 100. So the change between the 6 and the 20 is 14. The original, the starting point, was the 6, and times by 100. And that gives us 233.333 blah 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 percent. And this 100 technically is 100% that we're timesing it by. So it says it wants it to the nearest percent, so that would be 233%. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012. So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employees has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. Bearings questions are normally written as find the bearing of destination from a location. So you can see in this question here that the answer is 275. So the line they're taking it from is this line here, this north line, and they're looking at this bearing here. So we currently are at B, and we're looking at the angle of A. So it is the find the bearing of A from B would be the question. All probabilities have to add up to 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away these probabilities away from 1. So I'm going to do 1 take away 0.09 plus 0.13 plus 0.18, and so that's going to be 0.4. 1 take away 0.4 is 0.6. So we've got to first of all find out what the gradient is for our graph. So we're just going to pick 2 points and draw a triangle between them. So I'm just going to pick this point here and this point here, and there's no reason I picked those, just pick those at random. And we look at how far it's going to cross. So it's gone across 10. How far it's gone up. So it's gone from 24 to 36. So it's gone 12 up. And to work out the gradient, which you can call n, or you can just write out the word gradient, it's change in y over change in x. So how much has y changed over how much has x changed? So y is this one here, so it's changed by 12, and x has changed by 10. So it's 12 divided by 10, which is 1.2. Now a gradient represents the amount of change in the y per one change in the x. So for every 1 mile we travel, we're going to go up, it's going to cost 1.2 more. So the interpretation that we give for this context, because this is about taxis, is that the taxi will cost £1.20 or 120 pence per 1 unit on the x per mile. And that's true for the gradient for any context. It's for every one of this, how much of this increases, how much the y increases by. So what we can do here is we can do 3 divided by 7 to find out what 3 is a percentage of 7, find out what that is as a decimal, which would be 0.428 blah blah blah. And then to convert a decimal into a percentage, we times by 100, so we can get that 0.428 blah blah blah, and we're going to times it by 100, and that will be 42.857, and it wants it to the nearest percent, so that's going to round to 43%. So trying to describe the single transformation, it kind of looks like it could be a rotation, and it would be a rotation of 180 degrees, but if it was a rotation it would be actually this way around. And so it's not a rotation. It looks to me like it's a reflection, which it is. Now we've got to find out where we put our mirror line, and our mirror line for this would be a horizontal line. So if I just guess and I put it down here, notice that B is only 1 jump away from that, and yet A is 1, 2, 3 jumps away from that. So that's not very good. That's not the halfway point. So we need this to be the halfway between the two shapes, which is going to be here. And the name of that line, well, everywhere along that line, y is equal to -1. So we call it the y equals -1 line. So it's going to be a reflection across line y equals -1. The median is the middle number when the numbers are in order. Now it's quite difficult to do with a table, so we used a formula, and that formula is to find the position of the median. We do how many numbers there are, which I'll call n, we add 1 to it, and then we divide that by 2. And that shows us where the median is. It doesn't tell us what the median is, it shows us where it is. Now, we need to figure out where these numbers are in this list. So the first number is a 2, and there is 1 of those. The next number is a 3, and there's 3 of those. So 1, 2, 3. The next number is a 4, and there's 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The next number is a 5, and there's 8 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the next number is a 6, and there's 13 of those. Now I'm not going to do all of them, okay, because we're not going to be working out the median by writing out all the numbers, but I do want to show you where these numbers are coming from. So what we do is we do a running total. So I'm going to do a running total. The running total is just adding up the frequencies as we go. So the first one is just 1. Then we're going to add the 3 in the next row, so that's 4. Add the 4 in the next row, 8. Add the 8 in the next row, 16. Add the 13 in the next row, and that would be 29. Now, we use the running total because the running total shows us where the last number is in that group. Okay, so this shows us that the first number is the last number that is a 2, which is true, we can see it here. This 4 shows us that the fourth number is the last number that's a 3, so let's check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, it works. This 8 shows us the 8th number is the last number that's a 4, let's check that. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This 16 shows us the 16th number is the last number that's a 5. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And this 29 here shows us that the 29th number is just the last number, but it's the last number that's the sixth. Okay, so let's work out how many numbers there are, and we do that by adding up the frequency. So we're just going to add up all of the frequency together, and we find out that there's 29 numbers altogether. So 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8 plus 13. So using our formula, which is 29 plus 1 divided by 2. 29 plus 1 is 30, divided by 2 is 15. So we're looking for the 15th number. So looking down our running total list, well, the last number that's a 4 is the 8th number, so we haven't got to the 15th number yet. And the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number. So if the last number that's a 5 is the 16th number, then surely the 15th must also be a 5. And so our median is 5. So we're going to track the amount of eggs to make the amount of, or to make each amount of omelette. So 5 eggs makes 17 omelettes. And we're just going to find out how much is required, how many eggs is required to make one omelette. So we divide that by 17, divide both sides by 17. And so one omelette would be 0.294 blah 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 eggs. Next we want to see how many for 67 omelettes. And to get to 67 from 1 times 67, so do that to the amount of eggs, and we get 19.705 blah blah blah. Now you can't get 0.705 of an egg, we always round with eggs, and we always round upwards, because if you need 19.7, 19 won't be enough, so we need to pick 20 eggs. Okay, first of all we need to work out what the interior angles would add up to. So the sum of the interior angles is equal to n minus 2 times 180. Now n is the amount of sides, but it says it has 5 sides, so it would be 5 take away 2, which is 3, and then times 180, which would be 540. So we know it will add up to 540. So all we need to do is get that 540 and take away all the angles that we know. So the 118, the 84, the 108, and the 151. And when you do that, you get the answer of 79. So when asked to describe a relationship, I always start off the sentence as the amount of, and I pick this one here, the X one, red sweets increase the amount of, and then I pick this one here, green sweets, and this is the only word here that changes. So what we do is we look at what happens as we're going to the right, as red sweets increase, what's happening to the green sweets. Well, the green sweets start really high and then slowly are going down and down. So the word here is decrease. Obviously the other option is that they increase. An increase would be if they ended up making this kind of correlation here. So for this question I think of the ratio in terms of piles. So food is getting 37 piles of money and drink is getting 4 piles of money. So we've got to first of all work out how many piles of money we have. So we're going to do 37 plus 4 and that will give us 41. So we've got 41 piles of money. Now each pile is equal, so to work out how much one pile or one part is worth, and in maths we call them parts, but they're just like piles of money, we're going to do 13,161, the total amount of money, and we're going to divide it by how many piles there are, which is 41. When we do that we get 321, so each pile is worth 321 pounds. Now if we look at how many piles drink had, well they had 4 piles, so we're going to just work out 4 lots of the 321, which is going to be 1,284. So they spent £1,284 on drink. To be able to work out the area of a circle, we first need to work out what the radius is. Now the radius is half the distance of the diameter. So if the diameter is 16 centimeters, the radius will be 16 divided by 2, which will be 8. So the radius is 8. The formula for working out the area of a circle is pi r squared, or pi times r squared. The radius is 8, so it's pi times 8 squared, or pi times 64. When we type that into the calculator, we get 201.061, blah blah blah. And the question asks it to 2 decimal places, so rounding that to 2 decimal places, we get 201.06 centimeters squared. So here we have a back-to-back stem leaf diagram, and we're going to focus on just the girls first, because the right-hand one is normally easier to do. So the stem here gives us all of the tens by the looks of it, and then we put the units in here. So we've got 102 here and 105 here, so we're going to put a 2 here and a 5 here to represent 102 and 105. Now they go from biggest being the right hand side and the smallest being nearest the middle. We've got a 90, 92, so 90 and a 92, and we've got a 73 there. And the key we can have for the girls is just 7 line 3 is 73 hours. It doesn't actually matter which value we pick. We could actually pick a value that's not on there, so 6 line 3 equals 63 hours. It's just a way of showing that that 7 represents a 10 and not a unit or anything else. Okay, so we're going to do the boys next. I'm going to pick a different colour. Now the boys gets tricky because it's actually the smaller numbers go in the middle. So when we look at 72 and 76, the order will be actually the 2 first and then the 6. Then we've got 80 and 81. So it'd be 80, then 81, and then we've got 93 there, so the 3 will go there. And the key's a bit weird as well, so if we look at this part here, it's 2 line 7 there, so let's copy that down, so 2 line 7, but that actually represents 72, so it's kind of the other way around. So the left hand side of a stem leaf diagram can be a little bit confusing. Just remember that the smaller numbers go in the middle and the biggest on the outside. So on the left hand side, the biggest will be on the left hand side. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal. So we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149, and we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving, and so we've got a 13m and a 2m, so we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off, and so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number, so take away 39 from both sides, and we've got 11m is equal to 110, and then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x, and the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line, so they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in. for the working out. I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all, we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times n, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in, and so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180, and we're going to just take that away from both sides of the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000, so that would be 9, 0, 0, 0, 0. And so we're just subtracting them like that. And so we'll get 6, 9, 9, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. So to find the area of a rectangle, we do length times the width. So here, to find the area, we will do the 10 times the whole of the 10t plus 4. And to show that we're doing the whole of it, we put it in brackets. So a different way of writing that is 10 brackets 10t plus 4. And whichever method you use to expand brackets, feel free to do it here. I'm going to just do the grid method, but whatever method you prefer. Actually, I don't need the, I've done too many here. Let's get rid of that. So we've got 10 times 10t plus 4. So, and we're timesing them, so 10 times 10t, 10 times 10 is 100, so it'd be 100t, 10 times 4 is 40. So our answer will be 100t plus 40. So we're looking for angle DEC, which is this one here, but we can't go directly there. We've got to kind of work our way towards it. And the first thing I'm going to look at is these set of parallel lines here. And we've got a line going through these parallel lines, which is this line. If I try and do it without removing it, this line here. And so therefore this angle here and this angle are going to be corresponding. So this is going to be 69 degrees. So I need to write that down properly. So angle CDE equals 69 degrees because of corresponding angles. Okay. So if I know that the CDE is 69, I also will know that this angle here is 69 because they're the bottom two angles in a triangle. Now, when I say that, I mean when an isosceles triangle is the right way up, the bottom two angles are equal. So they're the bottom two angles in an isosceles, although the isosceles is on its side here. And we need to write that down, so it would be angle DCE equals 69 degrees. And this time it's because it's an isosceles triangle. And finally, we can work out what CED is by taking those away from 180. So angle CED, or actually I should keep it as it says in the question, DEC, is equal to 180, take away the 69 plus 69. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. And when you do that, you get the answer of 42 degrees. So the answer is 42 degrees. So for this frequency polygon, what we've got to do is work backwards to work out what the table was that created it. So we're going to just draw a starting of a table. And we're going to have our midpoint first, then our like money spent, our intervals, and then our frequency. So the first midpoint is at 40. And we can see here that that was, just get rid of that, that was between, like that was in this group here. So that is 0, and I'm just going to use M for money, 0 to 80. And the frequency is how high it is, which is 10. The next midpoint is here. So that was going to be 120. And we can see that that's between 80 and 160, and the frequency is 20. And finally the last midpoint is here, which is obviously 200, and that is between 160 and 240, and the height of it is going to be 7. So we're looking for the probability customer spent less than 160, so that is these two here. Okay, so there are 30 that are less than 160. And how many are there altogether? Well, it's that 10 plus the 20 plus the 7. So it's going to be over 37. So it's 30 over 37. If I start by drawing a number line, and we're going to put the 110 in the middle. Now I'm going to label the next one down and the next one up. It says to the nearest 10, so the next one down would be 100, and the next one up would be 120. Now we're interested in the cutoff, and the cutoff point is between the two numbers. Okay, so that's the cutoff point. If it goes above that cutoff point, it would have rounded to the next number up. So if the number was here, it would round to 120. If the number is on the cutoff point, which we can see is going to be 115, then we know it would round up. So we need to find the biggest number in this part here. So this part here, and it includes this line actually, so it includes this line. So all the numbers that would have rounded to 110 would have been 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, which would be here. But if it was 115, it would have rounded to 120. So 114 is the biggest number it could have been before rounding to 120. And we know it didn't round to 120 because in the question it says it's 110 to the nearest 10. So our answer is 114. So we're going to start by understanding that all lines form or can form an equation y equals mx plus c, with m being the gradient and c being the y-intercept. It says here the gradient is -2, so we've already got a bit of a head start with this, but we don't know what the y-intercept is. So we're going to use this first set of coordinates to work out what the y-intercept is. So y is -31 and x is 15. And we're going to use this to solve and find out what c is. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, just tidy this up. 2 times 15 is 30, so -30 plus c. And I'm just going to add 30 to both sides to get c on its own. So that would be -1 equals c. So c is -1. So we now know that the equation is y equals -2x minus 1. And we're told that the y is -37. And we're looking for the x value, which they've called w. So let's get our solving lines in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add 1 to both sides. And so it would be -36 equals -2x. I'm going to now times, or divide everything by -2. And a negative divided by a negative is positive. 36 divided by 2 is 18. And then obviously that gets rid of the coefficient of the x, so it's just x. So x equals 18. So the x value is 18 and the x value is the w value. So w is 18. To find the exterior angle of any polygon, we do 360 divided by the amount of sides. These are decagons, which means they have 10 sides. So the exterior angles will be 36 degrees. And the exterior angle is just an angle that kind of continues on. You just continue on from the side. So this one here is the exterior angle of the left-hand decagon. And this one here is the exterior angle on the right-hand decagon. So altogether, the angle A will be 36 plus 36, which will be 72. So our answer will be 72 degrees. So the first thing we need to do is work out the mean for the data in the table. So to start off doing that, we're going to work out the midpoint of each group. So we've got 80 to 85, and to find the midpoint, you add the 80 and the 85 together, then you divide by 2. So this will be 82.5, then 87.5, then 92.5, then 97.5, and then finally 100 plus 105 divided by 2 is 102.5. Next we need to find the ft, which is just the frequency times the duration of calls. Now in this first group we're not timesing it by 80 to 85 or anything like that, we're timesing it by the midpoint, so our midpoint effectively becomes the t. So we're going to do 15 times that, which will be 1237.5, and we're just going to keep going and multiplying each of these together. And then finally 2050. Right, next we need to add up the frequencies and add up the FTs. So we're going to have the sum of the frequencies. So I'm just adding all this column up, and that will be 80. And we have sum of the FT. And so we're going to just add this column up here. And so that would be 7,450. So what this column represents is all the numbers added up together. This column represents how many numbers we have. So to find the mean, it's all of the numbers added together, which will be 7,450, over the amount of numbers we have, which is 80. So when you do that, we get 93.125. Now this question is about the improvement that we've made, or that the manager has made, the call centre's made. So we're looking at subtracting the 93.125 away from the last week, which was 105. So we're looking for improvement. And we're going to do 105, take away the 93.125. And that's going to be 11.875. Now it does ask for 2 decimal places, so that will be 11.88. So 7 times 10 to the power 4 is going to be 7, and it's going to be 70,000. And 9 times 10 to the power of 7 will be 90 million. And so when you add them together, you get 9007000. Now if you have access to a calculator, if this is on the calculator paper, then you can just type it into your calculator. Some people think there's a quick way of doing this, like adding the 7 and the 9. There isn't. You've just got to work out what this number is, work out what this number is, and add them together. So we're going to start by doing a multiplication grid. and we're multiplying the x minus 11, so x and minus 11, by the x minus 3, so x and then minus 3. So x times x is x squared, x times minus 11 is minus 11x, x times minus 3 is minus 3x, and minus 3 times minus 11 is positive 33 because 2 minuses make a plus. Put the terms together, and you'll notice here that we can simplify. So we've got two x terms, so we can collect the x terms, and that will give us x squared minus 14x plus 33. So our answer is x squared minus 14x plus 33. So we've got a right angle triangle, and we're given two lengths, and we're asked to find a third length, and that means we're going to be using Pythagoras' theorem. And to do that, we're just going to label the sides A, B, and C. And C must be the hypotenuse, which is opposite the right angle. Pythagoras' theorem says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A we can see is 3.4, B is 5.2. And we're looking for what C squared is. So 3.4 squared plus 5.2 squared is 38.6, and we need to solve to find out what C is. And to do that, what we do is we just square root both sides. So square root of 38.6 is 6.212 blah blah blah, and C squared, the square root of that is C. So to two decimal places, it's going to be 6.21. This looks like it's a really tricky question, and it is a little bit tricky, but it's a little bit easier than maybe it looks. The highest common factor is found when you have the prime factors, which we do, of two numbers, and you put them into a Venn diagram. Then you can find the prime factor, the highest common factor, by multiplying all the numbers in the overlap. So we're going to rewrite these numbers. Just instead of squared, we're just going to write them out without index form. Just makes it a bit easier. And so I'm just removing the squares, and we're going to draw ourselves a Venn diagram. So let's just do a rectangle at the outside. I'm going to try and do some nice circles here. Try my best anyway. Okay, so on the left hand side we have the 450, on the right hand side we have the 132. So we'll start with the 450 and the numbers. So actually looking at the numbers, looking at the factors at the top, the prime factors, we can see they both have a 2 in them. So I cross them both out and put 2 in the middle. We can see they both have a 3 in them. So cross those 3's out and put a 3 in the middle. And then 450 has a 3, a 5 and a 5. And 132 has the 2 and the 11. So to find the highest common factor, as I said, you multiply all the numbers that are in the middle. And so the highest common factor will be 6. Factorising is the opposite of expanding. So instead of multiplying something out of a bracket, we're putting it in a bracket. I'm going to start just by putting the bracket down. And we're going to ask ourselves, what number can we divide out of 18 and 33? And we need the biggest number we can divide out of both of them. So we're essentially looking for its highest common factor. So 18 and 33, that would be 3. And there's no letter we can divide out of both of them because 33 doesn't have a letter. Next we ask ourselves, 3 times what is 18x? Well, 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 6x will be 18x. Then we ask ourselves, what times 3 is 33? And that's obviously going to be 11. And you can expand that. 3 times 6x is 18x. 3 times 11 is 33. So we know we've got the right answer. So our answer is 3 brackets 6x plus 11. So the first thing we're going to do is work out the area of the trapezium. And the formula for that is half brackets a plus b times h. Now A and B have to be the parallel sides. So here we've got the two parallel sides here. Just pick a different colour. Here and here. So that is A and B. And then the H is the perpendicular distance between them. So perpendicular means it hits it at right angles. So that's what we've got here. So the area would be half times A, which is 28, plus B, which is 14, times the height, which is 14. And so that would be 294. Next we'll do the circle. Now it doesn't look like we've got anything for the circle, but actually the height here is actually the height of the circle as well. So the height of the circle is the same as the diameter. So the diameter of the circle is 14, therefore the radius would be half of that, which is 7, and the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. So it would be pi times 7 squared, which will be 153.938 blah blah blah. Now keep that in my calculator, because next thing we'll do is the shaded area part. And it says we want to work out the area of the shaded region. So the area will be the total area, which will be the trapezium, take away the area that we don't want, which is this bit here, which will be the circle. So the trapezium's 294, the circle's 153.93 blah blah blah. And when you do that, you get 140.061, blah, blah, blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it would be 140.06. So here we're asked to factorise a quadratic, and our answer will be x plus or minus something, x plus or minus something. So it'll be 2 sets of brackets with an x at the start. Okay, so to be able to find out what's in the bracket, we look at the 36 there, and we know that we're going to have to multiply 2 numbers together to make that 36. And we look at the coefficient of the x, that 15, and we know we're going to have to add these numbers together to make that 15. Now, if you just can figure out in your head the answer, that's absolutely fine. If not, you can just quickly write down the factors of 36. Now, because they multiply together to make a positive 36, they'll either both be positive or both be negative, but they add together to make a positive number. So we're just looking at the positive factors. So 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and 6 and 6. And we're looking for which ones of those add together to make 15. We can see here it's going to be 3 and 12 add together to make 15. So our 2 numbers are going to be plus 3 and plus 12, or the other way around. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in. And we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph. And so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are minus 1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. So we're going to start off by finding the multiplier, and we start off with 100%. It's an increase of 3.4%, so we get increase 3.4%, and so that would be 103.4%. And then we need to make that a multiplier, so we're dividing it by 100, and so that would be 1.034. So anytime we times a number by 1.034, we'll increase it by 3.4%. So it says that we start off with 1,700. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in 1,700 into our calculator, then we're going to press the equals button. And what that does is it stores the 1,700 in memory. Then, every time we press the ANS button, it's going to remember what the current number is, and we're going to then times that by 1.034. So at the moment, the current number stored in memory is the 1,700, times by 1.034 will increase the 1,700 by 3.4. Press it once, and it gives us £1,757.80. Now, when we press it again, that would be after the second year. So it puts in the 1,757.80, it puts that in as this answer here, and then raises that by 3.4%. So we've got to keep pressing equals and count how many times we press equals to get to £1,743.26. And you'll find that on the fourth press of the equals button, you will get £1,943.26. So there are three parts that we need to find the area of. We're going to start with the easiest bit first, this circle at the bottom here. Okay, so the circle area is just going to be pi times r squared, and the radius is given to us at the top, which is 9, so it's just going to be pi times 9 squared, and that would be 254.469 blah blah blah. Or we could leave it as 81 pi. Next bit is the curved bit of the cylinder, so we're going to do the cylinder next. And it's just the curved bit, and the formula for that is 2 pi r h. So 2 times pi times the radius, which is 9, times the height, which is 30, and that will give us 1,696.460 blah blah blah. And the last bit is this hemisphere here. And so let's do the hemisphere. And the formula for the area of a hemisphere, well, this full sphere is 4 times pi times r squared, but because it's a hemisphere, it's half of that. And so it'd be half times 4 times pi times the 9 squared, and that will give us 508.938. And so the final thing is to work out the total area, so total surface area, and we're just going to add up all these numbers together. So we add up the 254.469, the 1696.460 blah blah blah, and the 508.938 blah 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 blah, and we get 2,459.867 blah blah blah. Do make sure you show the examiner that you're adding these three here. I've not done that because it wastes a bit of time for a video, but make sure you write it down. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that will be 2,459.87 centimeters squared. So we're going to first of all draw a tree diagram for this information. You don't have to, but it is easier to understand what's going on. And so the first choice will be the first pick. It'll either be male or female. and the second choice will be the same, male and female. And looking at the questions, there are 3 male names in the hat and 5 names in total. So the fractions for the first one will be 3/5. If there's 3 male names, there'll be 2 females. Now, if we've picked a male name already, there'll be 2 left and 4 left in total. If we haven't picked a female, there's still 2 females, but there's 4 left in total. If we picked a female, there'd still be 3 males and only 4 left in total, but there'd only be 1 female left. 1 female name left and 4 left in total. Okay, we're looking for the probability that the genders of the names are different. So looking at the outcomes, the outcome here would be male-male. That's not what we're interested in. Here would be male-female, we are interested in. Female-male, we are interested in. And female-female, we're not interested in. So we're not interested in these ones. And the way that tree diagrams work is as you go along the tree, any fractions you go across, you multiply together to find the outcome. So this will be 3/5 times 2/4. And I realise I could cancel 2/4, but I generally cancel at the end. So 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to do the same with the other root. So 2/5 times 3/4. So 2/5 times 3/4, 3/4. That would be 6/20. Now we're looking to see whether it was male and female or female and male. And the word or in probability means add. So it'd be 6/20 plus 6/20. And this is the probability of different. Which will be 12/20. Now 12/20 will cancel to 3/5 or 3/5. We're going to start by drawing a table of values. We draw the table of values because we've got a curve here, and with a curve you need quite a lot of coordinates to make sure you get the curve right. Now ideally I'd go up in halves, but so that I'm not just sitting here writing numbers, I'm going to go up in ones on this one. I'm going to leave a space there though, and we'll see why in a second. So what I'm going to do is type these into a calculator. I'm going to type in 0.5 times brackets -2 close brackets cubed plus 8 into the calculator, and that gives me the answer of 4. I'll do the same with -1, that gives me 7.5. 0 gives me 8. 1 gives me 8.5. 2 will give me 12. 3 will give me 21.5. The reason I've left a space there is this axis doesn't go up to 21.5. So what I'm going to do is just do 2.5 to see if it goes up to that, and that should be 15.8125. So that's actually quite useful because that shows that it's not quite 16. So we were aiming for roughly where 16 is. So next thing we do is plot these coordinates. So 2 would be at 4, -1 is 7.5, which we can't be perfectly accurate for, but it's roughly there. Then 0 is 8, then 1 is 8.5, roughly there. 2 is 12, and then 2.5 is just below that 16. So it's almost at 16. Then the next thing we do is just join it up with a nice smooth curve. It's sometimes helpful if you turn your paper sideways. Obviously I can't do it when I'm on this computer, but you want to just keep drawing and don't lift your pen off at all. Just go with the points. And you want to avoid things like feathering, which is like that, where you do that kind of thing. And you kind of want to avoid, or you want to make sure you go through the coordinates. And you just make it a nice smooth curve. The exam is very forgiving when it comes to curves. they know that not everyone's got the steadiest of hands. So as long as yours goes through the points and doesn't have like gaps in it or feathering or anything like that, and it's just one continuous smooth line, then you'll get the marks. So we've got a right angle triangle here, and it involves two lengths and an angle. So we know we're going to be using trigonometry for this. And first step of trigonometry is labelling the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, the one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice there's not a number or a letter next to the adjacent, so we can cross that out straight away. Next thing we're going to do is draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to have SOHCAHTOA. And we've crossed out the A, so we're going to cross out the Ka and the Toa because they both involve an A. That leaves SO, and SO is short for sine x, or sine the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the angle is 83, so it's going to be sine 83 equals the opposite, which we've labelled as x, over 7.9. Then we can put our solving lines in, and all we need to do here is times both sides by 7.9. And be careful when you do sine 83 times 79. Most calculators open a set of brackets when you type in sine, cos, or tan, so make sure you close them after you type in times 7.9. And when you do that, you get 7.841 blah 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 equals x, and so rounding that to two decimal places is 7.84. So stratified sampling is basically trying to pick a sample that reflects the population. So if we look here, there's a lot more people who are male and pick the log flume than female who pick the log flume, for instance. So we look at the fraction of people in our population who, and in this case we're looking at male who went on the log flume, so male who went on the log flume. So it's 31 males went on the log flume out of 131 in our population. So that's the fraction of the sample that we want to pick. The sample is 15, so what we do is we times that by 15 to find out what 131ths of 15 is. If you do that on a calculator, you get 3.549 blah blah blah. And the problem is we can't pick 3.5th of a person, so we round that to the nearest integer, so that would be 4. Here we notice with the simultaneous equations, the coefficients of the x are different and the coefficients of the y are different. But if you look at the coefficients of the y, they are similar, because we've got a +4 here and a +8 here. So all we need to do is multiply the top one by 2. So we're going to do 2x plus 4y equals 2, and we're just going to multiply all of the terms here by 2 to get that second term, the 4y, to make it equal to 8y. So that's going to be 4x plus 8y equals 4. Then I'm just going to write out that equation we've just worked out, and then write out the second equation underneath. And now we have the same coefficients. So if we put in our circles, because obviously with simultaneous equations we work downwards, and we look at the signs now before the 8y's. So we've got a plus and a plus. Well, if they're the same signs, we subtract going downwards. If they are different signs, we add going downwards. The d in different, the d in add, the s in same, the s in subtract. Well, they're both pluses, so we're going to subtract. And so we're going to have 4x take away 3x, which is just x, 8y minus plus, which is just minus, so 8y minus 8y, which is 0, which was good. So that's the whole point, is to get rid of those y's. And we've got 4 take away 7, which is minus 3. So x is minus 3. Now we can't stop there because we need to find out what y is. So we substitute in the value of x, which is minus 3, into our first equation. So 2 times minus 3 plus 4y equals 2. We get our lines in to be able to solve it. So first thing I'm going to do, well, 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. So we're going to add 6 both sides. And so we've got 4y equals 8. Then we're going to divide that 4 from both sides. So we've got y equals 2. We can check this by putting the values of x and y, substitute them into the second one. So 3 times minus 3 plus 8 times 2, and that does equal 7. To work out the total surface area of the cone, we've got to first of all work out the curved surface area. And the formula for that is pi RL, with L being the slanted length. And this 13 here gives us the slanted length, so it's pi times the radius, which is 5, times 13. And that's going to be 204.203, blah, blah, blah. We'll keep that in our calculator. We've got to then work out the area of the circle at the bottom. So the area of the circle, which the formula is pi r squared. So it's going to be pi times 5 squared, which is 78.539, blah, blah, blah. And so the total surface area is just a matter of adding those together. And that will give us 282.743, blah, blah, blah. And 2 decimal places, that's going to be 282.74. So I'm just going to write this question out just a bit bigger so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so we've got numbers and we've got letters. Let's focus on the numbers first. We've got 77 over 11. So 77 divided by 11 is just 7. So the answer will just be 7 with the numbers. And here we've got x to the power of 11 divided by x to the power of 6. When you divide powers of the same base, and they're both x, you take them away. So you do 11 take away 6, which is 5. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.